Good evening, friends. Uh, welcome to this webinar on the series of Code of Ethics arranged by WRC of ICAI. Friends, today's sessions are very important sessions, and we have learned faculties for both of these important sessions. The first session will be on networking, merger, then all these sharing of fees, referrals, corporate form of practice, etc. And we have none other than Chhaira sir for that session. And second session is also very important, which is related to specific reports and certificates, what precautions as a professional we must take, what preparation is needed, which are the relevant standards available, which are the guidance notes available of ICAI regarding that. So that is also the topic of day-to-day importance for CA professionals. And for these both the sessions, we have the learned speakers with us. To begin with, we have with us the young and dynamic secretary of WLC, Arpit, who is also very good in networking skills. So I request Arpit to please address the same.
Thank you, Yashwant. Respected Central Council members, Jay Bhai and Vijaykumar sir. So we welcome you to this superb session. Actually, once upon a time that we believe that something that is so very important and critical for all chartered accountants. I think this is that session, and we couldn't have got better speakers than Jay Bhai and Vijaykumar sir on these topics. So, sir, we welcome you, Kamlesh Bhai, Yashwant Bhau, and all others who are here. I think. Uh, Today we are in times which is absolutely amazing, which is absolutely different, and these are very interesting times. We've seen best of the best happening and the worst of the worst of the worst happening. But one thing is for sure is there is absolutely no geographies now. There is absolutely no borders. We are all in a borderless world, and therefore when we talk about chartered accountants as a organization or as a huge setup, we are only 3,30,000 of us, across this entire country, full of resources, with ample opportunities, and opportunities which are dying. Forget that, but things which are coming up, things which are looking up, things which are exciting. These are the stuff that the entire world, new world, post-pandemic, most post-COVID, that will be formed of. And I think in this scenario, if you are not networking, and ICI, keeping the vision maybe 5 years down the line, has already come out with these kind of regulations of networking guidelines, these MDP, and everyone here at the council, everyone at the ICI is absolutely passionate about that big Indian firm, that big setup that all we can have, and we can not only talk about but also boast about. And imagine a scenario wherein you approach someone and you always say that we have this person doing this specialization, this person doing this specialization, and there is an absolute technology that binds all of us together. I think that is a scenario that we are all into. We are all very soon be part of. And as Charles Darwin has put it, survival of the fittest. So I think as every professional moves ahead of times, be it surgeries, be it new and new constructions, every professional brings in technology, brings in the new innovations. I think as a chartered accountant, as a professional, we have to start gearing up to bring in these new ways of working and for newer opportunities around here. And best speakers around who can talk about this. At WRC, one thing that we are passionate about is train earn learn program, wherein where we are educating undergraduate students for on 36 hours on nuances of chartered accountant offices, be it income tax filing, be it GST filing, be it Excel, be it advanced tally, all of these. And these people, after that 36 hours of training, are also available as interns. They are ready to work as interns for chartered accountant officers. So my humble request to all the firms, we've already completed around 10 batches. Almost more than 2,000 students are now qualified through this program, who can work with chartered accountant offices and do their internship. And if you all are interested, please reach out to us on our website. We have activated a tab. You can share your interest, and you can be given the database of these students, and you can hire them as interns. Also, we are all at WIRC. Technology is something which is playing a key role, and WIRC Connect is a Telegram channel that we have launched. I'll request all of you to please subscribe to this channel on Telegram and keep abreast about all the activities that are happening at WIRC. and all of these roles, all of these newer initiatives that we are taking up to ensure that we build that one big Indian firm and we build the firms of the future. So I think with this, thank you, Yashwant, for giving me this opportunity, and over to you.
Uh, Thank you very much, Arpit. Dear friends, as all of us know, the ICAI has revised its networking guidelines, and also the multidisciplinary partnership firms that has also come. And this is the right time for this session, I think. And who else the better speaker than CA Jai Chhaira sir? I will just briefly introduce Jai sir to all of you. CA Jai Chhaira is a senior member with admirable credentials, charismatic personality, and immense knowledge. He has to his credit several degrees. Right from BCom, LLB, HCA, ACMA, he has so many degrees to his credit. He has also studied advanced management at various reputed institutions in Italy, Germany, US, UK, and China. He has been associated with ICAI activities since 1995. He served as the chairman of Surat branch in 2005, vice chairman of WIRC in the year 2012, and he is currently serving his third consecutive term in the Central Council. He has held many committees as a chairman at ICAI, such as Professional Development Committee, Student Skills Enrichment Board, Peer Review Board, Capacity Building for Members in Practice, Committee for Financial Markets and Investor Protection, etc. He has held many significant positions as the president of Rotary Club in 2008, member of Civil Defense, then Government of Gujarat. Owing to his exceptional contribution, he has been awarded by the Governor of Gujarat as a Legend of Surat, by the Health Minister of Gujarat as Star of Surat, by the Member of Parliament as Jewel in Crown, by Mayor of Surat as Suratna Sitara, and as a youth icon by leading newspaper group Dainik Bhaskar. He has been awarded by the President of India for getting first in India in research, and also awarded by the Chief Minister of Gujarat for science and research. His approach is towards holistic development of an individual, and his activities are evidence of it. And he has also participated in the Akshay Kumar International Martial Art Competition as an eloquent speaker, having keen interest in education. He has represented India at various prestigious institutions at various places around the world, at Los Angeles, Milan, Guangzhou, Phuket, London, Paris, etc. And currently he is the chairman of Board of Studies, vice chairman of Committee of Capital Markets, and member of other 28 committees of ICAI. He is also serving as chairman of CPD and Education Committee of the South Asian Federation of Accountants. So friends, Jay sir is a personality that all the young CAs look up to, and we learn a lot from you, sir. And for this topic, you are the perfect speaker, because we all know your oratory, your networking skills, and definitely we look up to your guidance on this topic for all of us. Thank you, sir. Over to you, sir.
A very good evening to all of you. Thanks a lot, Yashwant. My esteemed council colleague, CA MP Vijaykumar ji, my dear friends in the region, CA Yashwant Kasar, CA Arpit Kabra, CA Kamlesh Sabu, and all my dear friends, very good evening to all of you. First of all, let me thank the WRC for providing me this wonderful opportunity to interact on this very relevant topic. I can say a hot topic these days, because this is a topic which is, taken up by most of the branches and most of the regions and all the POs across the country. At the same time, I must thank the WRC for providing me an opportunity to share platform with one of my ideals, a person, a person with great knowledge, my council colleague MP Vijaykumar sir. Thanks a lot to WRC. Now let me come to the topic. Well, while the topic has been code of conduct, but I would put it this way. When you talk about networking, I'll put it, Arpit, as you are discussing about it, I would say it is about growth. The topic is growth. Forget the nomenclature. Ultimately, everything is about growth. Even with code of conduct and all these things, what we are just trying to look at is organic growth, growth in an appropriate manner. That is ultimately what we are looking at. And friends, the question is, Arpit, this question definitely is there. Yashwant, the question is there, that why is it so that after 16 years, we are discussing the issues relating to network? Because networking guidelines came up for the first time in the council in 2005. 2005 council cleared it. In 2011, once again it was revised. Then why is it so that after 16 years, once again we are rediscussing that? The answer is that in the last 16 years, our experience was not sweet 16. There were very few networks created, around 100 networks, around 100 networks. That means only 6 networks a year. Are we growing at that pace? And that also not all the networks are actually working today. Many of them are still, in a dormant state. So in the last year, many of the council colleagues are sitting and we are discussing, of course, this is what has been in a discussion in the council for quite a long period of time, how to make our firms big. Now, the question that arises is, Yashwant, the question is, why do we want our Indian firms to be big? Let us understand the question. The answer is very interesting. When you will make a few of the Indian firms bigger, they will pull other firms indirectly to become bigger. And they in turn will pull some more. And there is going to be a chain reaction. There is going to be a chain reaction. So it is not about making a few firms bigger. It is about making the profession bigger. How is it going to happen? How is it going to happen? So here, let us take an analogy or an example of the IT industry. MP Vijaykumar sir is from South and he knows very well the entire Southern India, how it has changed because of this IT revolution. Yashwant, you will agree with me that there is not a single giant corporate across the globe which can think about software without having nexus with India. If it is software, nexus with India is essential, right? Arpit, you will agree with me. Then any country, any nation on this earth cannot imagine software without India. Now, one question that Yashwant has to ponder upon, Arpit has to ponder upon, I have to ponder upon is it so that India is only good with the IT professionals or other professionals are also good? So naturally, we have to introspect ourselves. If the IT professionals of India are wonderfully good and the entire world is pouring in all the work in India, having nexus with India, then what are the next two areas where India can show the mettle? So according to me, there are two sectors. One is healthcare and another is wealth care. And the second segment is our segment. When I say wealth care, I'm just using in a very loose manner. MP Vijaykumar sir is my co-speaker today, and he is an expert in IFRS. Expert means on a lighter note, just on a lighter note, थोड़ा सा हिंदी में अगर बताऊं तो वो पीके फिल्म में ऐसा होता है कि अगर आप किसी का हाथ पकड़ लो तो उसका पूरा नॉलेज, उसकी लैंग्वेज आप में आ जाती है. सो अगर आपने एमपी विजय सर का हाथ पकड़ लिया तो you are IFRS expert. He is excellent in accounts, IFRS. Sincerely, before coming to council, I have been using his books and I heard so much about him. So because of this IFRS, what benefit are we going to get? I'll just give one example. I'll give one simple example. And this is all thanks to our accounting standard board and all. A young chap from Surat, my city, right? Surat is not a very big city, of course, compared to Mumbai, Delhi or Chennai like that. Of course, not a very small town at the same time. But one young chap from Surat goes to Dubai, right? And start doing some small work. And then one fine day, when I go to Dubai, look at the example, interesting example. Arpit, when I go to Dubai, he's telling me, sir, मैं आपको रात को घुमाने ले जाता हूँ. बोलो भाई दिन में ले जा. बोले सर रात को ऐसी जगह पे लेके चलता हूँ जहाँ पे एंट्री नहीं मिलती. बोलो भाई तो मुझे माफ कर, ऐसी जगह पे लेके मत जाया कर. बोले नहीं सर ऐसा नहीं है, आप सोचे ऐसा नहीं है. There's excellent places their entry is not allowed for people, there are restrictions. ये दुबई के राजा की जब जगह है, मैं बोला भाई तू मुझे कहाँ लेके जाएगा? बोले he said, sir, don't worry about it. All the 29 companies of this gentleman, consolidation and IFRS work is done by me. So that's why I have an access to it. So I'm just imagining a few years back, you are just a CA student in Surat, and today you are telling me कि दुबई के राजा की कुछ ऐसी जगह पे तो मुझे लेके जाएगा जहां पे एक्सेस नहीं है लोगों को, right? So that is wonderful. Now just imagine with this IFRS what is going to happen. The language of accounts across the globe is going to be the same, right? Initially you might start getting the accounting work. Slowly and gradually on the basis of that, other work will also flow. The entire gamut of business, 360-degree gamut of business, all the services which can be outsourced can come to India. Now, why do we require big firms? Let us first understand. Matlab, I don't want Arpit that I just discuss about some few aspects of networking. Our members are very intelligent. देखो ये जो ज्ञान बांटना है ना, ये ठीक है अपनी जगह पे. आजकल क्या है, ज्ञान के सोर्सेज बहुत बढ़ गए. व्हाट्सएप यूनिवर्सिटी इज ऑल्सो देयर एंड यूट्यूब चैनल्स आर ऑल्सो देयर. हमारा जो काम है ना वो इंटरेक्ट करना है मेंबर के साथ. इट इज अनफॉर्चुनेट दैट वी आर डूइंग इट वर्चुअली. Fortunate also in another way, as Arpit was talking about a borderless world. But the thing is, हमारा काम है मेंबर से इंटरेक्ट करना, उनको थोड़ा सा इंस्पायर करना, थोड़ा सा, ज्यादा नहीं कर सकते, वो हमारे से भी मतलब वो हमारे रेंज के है, बट एज अ फ्रेंड इंटरेक्ट करे, थोड़ा सा मोटिवेट करे कि बॉस ये हमारे लिए पॉसिबिलिटी है, चलने की कैपेबिलिटी है, हमें थोड़ी सी दिशा उनके साथ शेयर करनी, थोड़ा हम उनको बताएं, थोड़ा हम उनसे समझे. That is the concept. So the point is, now look at the IT sector. Interesting. See, suppose there are some 4 companies, Infosys or Wipro or TCS or whatever the case may be. They start the IT sector in India. What will happen? Some of the US giants are giving the work to these companies. So initially these companies will grow. And once they grow, what will happen? The second tier work, they will refuse to accept. And they will take only some A category items. So B category items they will refuse. I think we are also doing the same thing in practice. Arpit, what you used to do in your initial years, Yashwant, what you used to do in your initial years, if the same work, smaller work is coming up, either you are delegating or you are telling them that boss, you find out some other firm, right? That is very natural process. That happens with everyone of us. So this IT companies became giants. So second tier work came to the second tier companies. Now over a period of time, these companies also grew. Then come the third layer, fourth layer, fifth layer. And the interesting thing is, now that US companies know, I'm just giving an example of US, it can be any part of the world, that for software purpose, you have to go to India. So even the smaller companies in US, they will search for someone in India. So even a small company in India with 5 employees, they will also get work. So when some firms go bigger, they pull the next layer, they further pull the next one, and there is an entire ecosystem where we all grow. Today we know very well this IT sector, maybe starting from Hyderabad to Bangalore, reaching to Chennai and Ernakulam and Gurgaon and Pune and Mumbai and all the places, how it grew. And today there are so many small players, who are doing work in India for US based clients. I am also one of them. I am also a small company where we have 3 directors working for it, and we are getting good work from US. So the point I am trying to make is the same thing can happen in finance. See, I'll give another anecdote. My anecdote might be a little ridiculous, but is essential according to me. So, Arpit, you might be too younger to me, maybe 10, 15 years, or maybe I'm not sure. But I remember while we were too young, at that point in time, the discussion was like, Kya, you should not use shampoos. Shampoos will damage your hair. That was the discussion those days. So, interesting, the shampoo companies, they did not tell that use our shampoo. We are this brand, we are that brand. Shampoo companies, all the shampoo companies in their advertisement only showed one thing. Using shampoo is good. using shampoo is good, using shampoo is good. And over a period of 3 to 4 years, they made Indians habituated to shampoo. Then they started telling, now you come to our shampoo, our brand. They did not say initially, you come to our brand. There was no point in doing that. They just said that shampoo is good. Similar is the case with our profession. We have to go to the world and we have to say that, come to Indian Chartered Accountants, come to Indian Chartered Accountants, come to Indian Chartered Accountants. We are capable of doing it. Come to Indian Chartered Accountants. And then we'll compete. Then I'll see whether Arvind gets or I get. Then we'll compete on that. But let us first see to it that we create some big firms so that the world knows that, yes, there can be good outsourcing. And think about the demographics. Demographics allows only India and China to rule the world. And while in production, they have some upper hand over us as of now, we hope that in the decades to come, we will definitely surpass them in production also. I hope our youth is going to do that. But at least in service sector, I am very sure about it. I am very sure about what an Indian can do, nobody else can do. Arpit, the wonderful thing is that we Indians can work up to 9 o'clock also. And during the season, we know very well up to 12 o'clock also. We can work on Saturdays also, and if required on Sundays also. Can you imagine a European or a US person to work that way on Saturday? Impossible, right? Yashwant, in our Bollywood, we can say कि हफ्ते में 4 शनिवार होने चाहिए. But the fact is, we can work like 7 Mondays in a week. That only an Indian can do, and energetically and happily. This is the competence of an Indian. Now, demographics support us. We are a young country. We are a young country. We have all the aptitude we understand technology. We are good with the language. Any foreign language you can easily learn. And English, I think, very easily, as if it is our own language. We are using it like that, even though it's not a mother tongue. So, language-wise, youth-wise, technology-wise, and if we talk about accounting, Indians are excellent in tax. Boss, nobody can think so complicated in terms of tax as an Indian. So all these things are supporting us, favoring us. It is in our DNA. It is in our DNA. The only thing is that collectively, see, if Yashwant goes, I remember 11 years back when I met Yashwant for the first time, we had gone to South Africa and we are trying to put up in South Africa. We had a meeting with South African Reserve Bank and some of the other associations, putting forward that we Indian Chartered Accountants can provide you these services. Those days I was in WIRC and we were propagating on the behalf of WIRC that yes, these are the services you can do. So as of now, we don't want to say that I can do this. We want to say that we Indian Chartered Accountants can do this thing. But when can this be possible? This would not be possible unless there is economies of scale. This would not be possible unless we have a good budget to be linked with them. And that is only possible when we make the firms of larger size. With a single chartered accountant, it is not possible that you have the PR also, you have the back office also, you have the front office, you can have a team, you can have systems, you can have everything. Not possible. What is the major advantage of network? A beautiful advantage, I'll say. Today, our chartered accountant, sorry to say that, but a few of our chartered accountants, they believe that they are Sachin Tendulkars. They are excellent in batting, and at the same time, they are excellent with bowling, and they are excellent with fielding also, and they are excellent with wicket keeping also, and they can play football also, and they can play hockey also, and they can do everything under the sky. The fact is that while we don't doubt your competence, but the time has come up that Virat Kohli should restrict to cricket and at max Anushka should not venture out with bowling, right? If you're into income tax, GST, please work on that. Don't venture out in everything. It's a time for specialization. So if you really want to get work from abroad, you'll have to have good infrastructure. You'll have to have a good team. You'll have to have a good system. And you must have some PR. See, without this PR, without this networking, without the connection, how do you get the work? Our chartered accountants are forgetting this particular aspect. See, there are two things. One is getting the work, and second is doing the work. Our entire focus is on doing the work. Our 95% of the programs or even 99% of the programs are on doing the work. Hardly 1% programs talk about how to get the work. I mean, that is a science, that is an art, and that is where we have to ensure, and that's why, see, collectively, we can do it collectively. Collectively, we have to go to the world and have to say that we Indian chartered accountants are capable of doing all these things. And the best part is that if you really want to grow, either your share has to increase, market share, or market size has to increase. And if both of them increase, that is wonderful. The Boston Consultancy Group metrics, right? BCG metrics, they say that market size and market share both going up. That is stars. And we chartered accountants become the stars. So, now how do I increase the share? Share I can increase if I'll get some client who is with Yashwant Kasar, I'll get him and I grow. Then Arpit will get somebody from me. Then Yashwant will get somebody from Arpit. That is trying to snatch the share. That's okay. That's okay then one level, right? But if we want to increase the size, here also, I'll give an example of my city, not because only my city can do it. I'm just giving example like that. Surat, when I was doing chartered accountancy as a student, I'm talking 3 decades back. Surat had hardly 100 chartered accountants, hardly. It was such a small town, right? It was not even on the map of the institute those days. Because you did not have 3-digit chartered accountants. Probably among the locally produced chartered accountants, I'm among the first 100 chartered accountants. That is what the condition was. Now, we have 5,500 chartered accountants. Why is it so that we have grown so fast? Same is, of course, Pune, Mumbai is an ocean. It cannot be compared with any other part of the world. So let us put it aside. Probably there is no other city across the globe where there will be 70,000 chartered accountants. It is only Mumbai. Mumbai has a luxury. But what I'm trying to make a point is that why Surat grew? The answer is, if a city has to grow, then money has to come from outside. How money came from outside Surat? Because of diamond. 95% of the world diamond is polished in Surat because of textiles, right? Saris, artificial silk cloth, highest production across the nation is from Surat. So when you put something out and when you get money within the city, then you grow. If a city has to grow, this is the model. Is it not the same model for profession to grow? Same model. If you really want to grow, money should come in. So if you only restrict yourself to India, how do you grow? There are limitations. There are limitations. Now in Surat, we are discussing with the textile people that up till now you are producing saris. Up till now you are making some dress material traditional. If you can venture out further, and why don't you make Surat as the Milan of the world? Why don't you make it? If you do that, you can sell your goods across the globe. Similarly, we chartered accountants to ensure that we get the work, and it is possible. You have to sell the dream. You have to keep on reiterating number of times. You have to discuss, you have to interact, you have to mentor people. You have to discuss with young chartered accountants, and I'm sure it is possible. If for next 5 years, we continuously keep on discussing that, right? Now there are two options. One option is, I have a negative mindset. क्या ठीक है ये WARC वाले और council member तो बोल जाते हैं. I am from Sangli, I am from Kolhapur, I am from Pimpri, I am from Junagadh, I am from Jamnagar. बोले तुम्हारे यहाँ होता होगा, हमारे यहाँ नहीं होता. That is one mindset. And second mindset is Corona के side effects. The side effect is that Corona did not have everything bad. Something good also happened. The good that is happening is I am sitting in Surat, Yashwant is sitting in Pune, Arpit is sitting in Mumbai. All our listeners must be sitting across the various branches of a region, maybe 35, 40 locations, and we are interacting. So the best thing that has happened with COVID is we have learned management lessons. We have learned to use technology, and that would mean once we are in touch, see what happens. Once I meet Arpit 3 to 4 times, I become friendly. Over a period of time, I might share some work with him. And once that is well done, I'll have more interaction. I think the same thing happens now. Because of technology, we can be easily linked with the world. So today you might be a branch with only 120 members. It is possible. You might be from Bhavnagar, but it is very much possible that you get the work from Belgium. You get the work from Switzerland. It is possible. You have to first make a mindset rather than having the mindset. If my mindset is that this is only theory, I'll never reach there. But if my mindset is positive, and I think that is what, as the representatives of the profession, we have to go and inspire and motivate people. They have the potential. So one of the ways of growing is, one of the ways which I look at is, today if all the youngsters listening to me, please understand, if you are some 4 or 5 youngsters, rather than having individual proprietorship, 5 different firms come together, you will share infrastructure. See, 2 decades back, infrastructure cost was very low, other than maybe major cities, metros, very low. Today, look at your infrastructure cost. Second, look at the HR cost, right? Look at the HR cost. 2 decades back, there was no HR cost. There was nothing like HR at all. India had very cheap labor. Today, it is not like that. It's HR. The profession requires good HR, right? You will share knowledge, share infrastructure, share HR, share system, have the benefits of scale, have the benefits of specialization, and some of you might look into the PR. Some might be very good with work. Some might be very good with drafting. Some might be very good with analysis. Some might be very good with PR. So you can have different departments. Let the bowler ball well. Let the batsman focus on batting. And in that, adding fragrance to the flower would be, out of the 5, send one abroad. Send one abroad. Go US, go Australia. The person who is going abroad, I'm not sure whether a person from Mumbai would do it or not, because generally what happens, when you are in a very developed city, you have a number of opportunities. But when you are from a very smaller town, your opportunities are less, and that is a boon in disguise. That is a boon in disguise. If I look at the analysis, more than Surat, which is a major city today in South Gujarat, the towns around the Surat, small towns, each and every family has a person abroad. The reason is that if you are growing up in Surat, you have some work, you get the work. So you don't think about abroad, right? You don't think about expanding. You are complacent. But if you are from a smaller town where there is no work, then you have no other alternative. You will jump out. You will say, I'll go to Canada, I'll go to US, and then you have an entire network. So my point is, if you are from a smaller town, it is utmost essential for you. 5 people come together, send one person and tell him, don't worry. For next 2 years, even if you survive there, if you don't earn anything, we are fine with that. Don't worry. We 4 will work here, and whatever a firm gets, we'll have 5 shares. Your share is also there. So your family has been taken care of. Don't worry. You just stay abroad for 2 years, slowly and gradually have a focus. You don't go with an employee mindset only, right? You go with an entrepreneurial mindset, meet right type of people, develop a channel. Once you'll meet number of times the same person and understand the culture and the type of work you can outsource, start getting the work outsourced, and believe me, if this is done within 5 years, the growth is going to be exponential. Here also, I'll quote an example. My neighbor, that is a person who is sitting next to my office. This gentleman is only graduate, Arpit. This is a very interesting example. He is only a graduate and has studied from vernacular language Gujarati. Does not understand English. He is only BCom, pass, right? The only thing is that he went to US. He was good in relationship building. He built relations, and he called up his cousin. I want 2 employees. Can you arrange for 2 employees? I want such employees who can work from home because I don't have money for office. He started with that. And after 5 years, what is the position? Yashwant, the interesting position is that he has 600 employees in India, having offices at Surat, Pune, and Bangalore. And he's doing wonderfully well. Now the question that arises is, if a graduate can do it, then we should definitely try it out. See, the point is that today we are just daydreaming. We are just daydreaming. On one fine day, there will be a WRC will have a seminar on outsourcing opportunity. I'll listen to it for 1 hour, get a CP hours, and then automatically, with a miracle, all the work will start coming to me. Now, see, this is a joke. You have to go. If the mountain does not come to Mama has to go to mountain, right? So the thing is, an individual might not be in a position to take risks, but if 5 people get together, it is very much possible. Send one person abroad. Then once he is well set, maybe he can come back. You can send another person thereafter to some other country. Though it seems like Robin Hood, but I tell you, yes, it is possible. This is one of the strategies. So anyway, the benefits of networking, I was trying to explain you. This is how it is. Now let me very quickly come to why networking was not happening. President last year made a group. Fortunately, I was the convener of the group. And President said that this is a very tough group. We have been trying to make these guidelines for some 7 to 8 years. It has not happened. You have to somehow ensure that it happens. somehow ensure that it happens. And friends, it was really very difficult. We had to take 21 meetings to finalize the networking guidelines. We went to the council. Council sent us back. Once again, we had 4 meetings. We went to the council. Council once again sent back 3 more meetings, and then we went to the council. And council finally on 9th February 2021 accepted our proposal and came up with the networking guidelines. So in the initial meetings, we were discussing about the fact why networking is not happening. So I tell you, there are 2 major limitations with our firms, with Indians. Number one, we are too much attached with our firm name. Means by any means, I want my name to be in the firm name. That is one of the limitations. At least what Shakespeare said, we have to understand what is there in name. So name is a major problem. 5 people want to come together, but each of them wants his name to be a part of the firm. I think we have to come out with this concept. It does not make any difference whether your name is a part of that firm or not. It hardly makes any difference. Second is the fear factor. What is happening today? We believe that if 5 people are coming together, A, B, C, D, E, A feels that if I join, other 4 will get my practice. B feels the same, C feels the same. This fear factor is for no reason, right? No reason. And the current position is that, you are a new chartered accountant, you start your practice, you support number of clients, you have many small clients, you go out of the way to support them. Now you make them grow. And when they grow and you feel that now there is a time to charge, and they move to the higher firms, bigger firms. And आपकी एक थोड़ी बॉलीवुड वाली हालत हो जाती है, बहुरे ने खिलाया फूल, फूल को ले गया राजकुमार. So that happens in your case, and then you become philosophical. But the fact is, if your clients are growing, should you not grow along with that? That's the question. So it is the need of the hour to venture out into non-traditional practice areas, specialization, forming structures by networking, larger structures, and taking up the opportunity of pooling resources, expertise, combined strength, and showcasing pan-India presence. Fortunately, this is the vision of the president of ICAI. This is the vision of the council for the last 1 decade, and now it coincides with the vision of our honorable Prime Minister, who is also talking about big 100 firms in India. So while this group was discussing and deliberating about these networking guidelines, we decided that rather than in one form, let us give 3 different formats with flexibility so that the members get an opportunity to opt for different options, and maybe over a period of time, with more and more suggestions from members, we can put different points in different models. So today we have 3 models under the alliance models, under networking. First is alliance model, second is network model with lead firm, and third one is network model with a traditional model. Now let us take one by one. First, I'll take up the common points in all these 3. What are the common points? So these are the issues related to code of conduct. First and foremost thing is, does ICAI recognize them? The answer is yes. ICAI recognizes alliance and network models. Second, does government recognize? The answer is Professional Development Committee of ICAI is continuously following with various regulators, and the regulators are of the view that once there will be sizable number of alliances and networks, they will recognize. We are going to the ministries, we are going to RBI, we are going to NABARD, we are going to C&AG, we are going to all the various regulatory bodies, and we are trying to explain them that this is the way how we can get the outsourcing, means we can get the sourcing of work from abroad, and we share with them. This is the vision of the Prime Minister also. So regulators have said that once there will be number of alliances and networks, they will recognize. So in nutshell, ICAI recognizes it. Would ICAI register it? The answer is yes. ICAI definitely registers it. Alliance can be registered, network will be registered. Alliance registration number ARN will be given, or network registration number NR will be given. What will be the procedure? The procedure will be the same, like FRN, form registration number. You have to go to the SSP portal and go ahead with the form being filled up. As of now, the group that was created for the framing of these policies, the group has already submitted all the networking guidelines. Now the members and sections, membership and student section, MNS section, is taking care of the designing of the form, which will soon be on the SSP. As of now, even if you want to make alliance or network, the forms are not available. The forms will be made available by the MNS section. I had a discussion last week only with the MNS section person who was handling that, and he's telling that the work is being done for the designing purpose, and soon the forms will be designed, will be available in the SSV portal. So once you do that, the same as form registration will be registration for alliance as well as network. Now the question arises, can the firms practice as independent firms even though they're a part of network? The answer is yes. Please understand, we want the firms ultimately to go into merger mode. Merger is the final marriage, but because the firms were not going into marriages, so we gave a midway, that is engagement, networking. And because we could see that people are not even going for marriage, an engagement, so we thought about it, why not to give them an opportunity to flirt around first, and that is the alliance model. So here, in alliance and in network, the firms are allowed to continue with their independent practice. That will not be impacted. Another question that arises is, can there be display of alliance name in professional stationery? Would it be permitted? The answer is yes. So that means you have dual luxury. On your visiting card, you are showing that this is your particular firm and you're a part of this so-and-so network, XYZ network. You can definitely show that, and you can showcase that you have a pan-India presence. Your office is there in various parts of the nation. So this is permitted. Next is, what should be the nomenclature? The nomenclature will be something like XYZ and alliance or XYZ network or something like that. The same principle, what applies for firm name, same principles will apply for ARN as well as NRN. What about the other part of code of conduct? Whatever code of conduct is applicable to a firm, the same code of conduct shall become applicable to a network as well as alliance. Wherever some departure is required in the times to come, the ethical standard board will look into it. As of now, more or less, the code of conduct is the same. Now, the next question that arises is, now this is a very important question, though not straight away related to code of conduct, but a question raised by many of the issues. What about my bank audit? What about my CNAG? So here the answer is that if you go with alliance model, then for the MEF purpose, the independent firms will file MEF form separately, independently, and the alliance is not filing the MEF. So wherever the MEF is concerned, bank audit or something, there you will get it on your own firm name and not in the name of the alliance. But for other works, you can get the other works, say corporate work, market driven work, by way of this alliance model. Now another question would be, can referral fees be charged? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Up till now, the code of conduct was not so very positive regarding the referral fees. But now, just imagine a scene. You are situated in Mumbai and you get a work in Mumbai, for which the execution has to be done at Surat or say Baroda. So today, if you have a network or alliance where your counterpart is there in Baroda or Surat, you can hand over the work to him, and maybe you can have sharing system like you got the work from Mumbai, you are getting 30%, maybe the person who is executing the work, he gets 50%, maybe 20% is shared by the common pool or something like that. This is very much possible. In short, referral of professional work and sharing of fees is permitted, sharing of cost is permitted, sharing of knowledge not only permitted but encouraged. Now, the next question that arises is, who will sign the report? So the answer is that the alliance or network will get the work, and that work will be executed by a particular firm. For that purpose, it is up to the network and the alliance to decide how the work is going to be distributed geographically and maybe on the basis of domain expertise. That is all up to the alliance and network. I say it does not have any issues with that. You can have your laws, bylaws, and decide upon which firm is going to execute what type of project. So the firm which is actually dealing with the execution, partner of that firm will sign the report. That is what is the current position. Now, one important thing that you have to understand is about independence. See, today, our profession stands on 3 pillars. That is integrity, competence, and independence. And I'm sure you all will agree that we cannot compromise on any of these pillars. These are very, very important aspects. So following this principle of independence, if you are a part of a network or an alliance and one of the firms is doing the statutory audit, the another firm from this network cannot do the internal audit. Similarly, one of the firms is the auditor and retiring by rotation, another firm from the same network alliance cannot accept audit of the same company. This is one very important thing, and that you should understand. Another very major issue would come up. What will happen in case of delinquency? So that means if there is any disciplinary action against a particular firm because of some particular project, whether the entire alliance or network will be responsible or only a firm. So the answer here is that if only a firm is involved in a particular project, only the firm will be questioned, not the entire network or alliance. So this is one very good point. But for this purpose, documentation and division of work should be done very appropriately. How you are going to divide the work and how it is going to be documented, it should be made very clear so that only a particular firm which has dealt with the project will be affected and not the entire network or entire alliance. Regarding code of conduct, I have discussed that it will be the same as any other firm. Firms are free to join and exit alliance or network. So the code of conduct, that is ICAI, does not restrict any type of firm to enter or exit. It is up to the firm to enter. It is up to the firm to exit. The alliance or network can decide upon who will enter, who will exit, and what shall be the formalities. So that is it. Another major question that arises is, suppose there are 6 firms and a work comes to a network or a work comes to an alliance and the alliance has started working on it and one of the firms exit. Would it deprive the other firms from doing such type of project? The answer is no. Whether any firm enters or exit, it does not make any difference, and the work which has been taken up in the name of alliance or in the names of network shall continue with the same alliance or network. Alliance and network should have their own bylaws, should not contradict, their bylaws cannot contradict naturally the Chartered Accountants Act or CA regulations or council guidelines, code of conduct, and of course any other law, any of the provisions of any of the law for the time being in force. The internal agreement has to be created and they have to submit this internal agreement, and because the constitution has to be registered, naturally the reconstitution also has to be registered. So these are some of the common points of the networking guidelines. Now let us look at the differences in these 3 models. The first model is alliance model. In alliance model, it's a very, I can say, abstract type of model. It's not a very concrete model. ICAI is not going to regulate it very strictly. The only concept is that initially you don't have the habit of working together. So we are providing the first platform where your individual practice continues and you are just joining informally a particular alliance. So what will happen when some 6 firms join together? You will have some sweet and some bitter experiences. You will come to know which type of firms you should continue with and which type of firm is not good for your alliance, so that over a period of time you can add more firms, you can create a broader alliance, and maybe once within a period of 2 to 3 years you are more comfortable, you can give it a more concrete structure by converting it from alliance to network. Once it comes to the network, of course the recognition from ICAI side would be far better. The industry recognition also over a period of time will be better, and of course ICAI will definitely regulate networks in a little more stricter way than alliances, because alliance is a little more abstract. When in network you have more recognition, naturally you have more responsibilities also, but that would be a beneficial model for anyone. So maybe you can start with alliance over a period of 2 to 3 years. Once you are comfortable, you may go switch over to the network model. The name of the network can be like ABCD network or XYZ network or something like that. While in case of alliance, as I said, it is a very loose model. Network is a little more concrete. In network, we have provided 2 options. One is a lead firm model, one is a traditional model. What is the difference? In alliance, for the purpose of MEF, bank audit, CNAG, individual firms shall apply separately. Same happens under the network traditional model. While in lead firm model, the firms will not apply for MEF. Only a major lead firm shall apply on behalf of the entire network. I'll explain you what it is. Suppose you are 5 medium firms and you don't want to lose your bank audit, you are very much into that MEF zone, then you can form network or alliance in the traditional way, where For bank audit purpose, you are independent and you can apply separately, and the network will continue in a different way altogether. But now let us take another example. Suppose there is an established firm with 8 partners having a say turnover of say 5 crores. Let us take an example. But suppose for industry work or maybe some government assignment, the minimum requirement is 10 partners or maybe a turnover of say 8 crores. So maybe there are some 4 or 5 smaller firms, individual proprietorship firm, they can join hands with this 8 partner firms. Thereby, your limit will definitely cross the required limit, and the project which was not coming up to you, now you will get the project. So this lead firm on behalf of the other firms of the network shall get the work, and that shall be distributed amongst all the firms of the network. So that is the lead firm model. So I repeat my point. As of now, we have not come with major differences in 3 models. With the passage of time, when more and more views are shared by our chartered accountants, we'll add differences in these 3 different segments. As of now, in network with lead firm model, it is the lead firm which shall apply for bank audit, MEF, empanelment, and other firms will not be in a position to do that. They will be restrained from doing that. While in case of the traditional network, it is all the firms which can apply on their own. So what are the pros and cons? In the lead firm model, you showcase yourself as a very big network. So maybe you get the major work, but as against that, your individual MEF, you have to give up. While in case of the traditional network, you can continue with your individual traditional MEF, but then you will not get that government for the purpose of that regulatory body. You are not going to get the aggregation. Of course, for other purposes of industry, you definitely will get the aggregation benefit also. So I think these are some of the points related to networking. I'll just very quickly touch upon MDP very quickly. Regarding this MDP, this is also a very good concept which can be linked very well with the networking. Recently, you know very well that networking has been accepted. ICAI has been a pioneer, has taken the first step. MDP guidelines have been cleared last year. We went to the ministry has accepted. Today, 6 different professions can join together. That is chartered accountants, cost accountants, company secretaries, engineers and architects, advocates, and this insurance actuaries. These are the professions which can join together. Of course, there are certain restrictions, like ICAI has accepted this particular proposal, but the Bar Council has not yet accepted, so it is not possible for a chartered accountant to join hands with lawyer as of now. Maybe in future it can happen. But in nutshell, under the single roof, different type of professional services is possible, and that can further strengthen your network. You can start from a proprietorship firm to a small partnership firm, from that coming to an alliance model, coming to the network model, then taking the benefit of MDP. You can ultimately culminate into a major merger. That might be a domestic one, and over a period of time, you can go to global level also. Fortunately, the current president ICAI has constituted a group which is dealing with the aspect of global networks. Current guidelines are only related to domestic, but we are moving to the next step also. So I think this can be the transition. I am not taking much more details. Rather than discussing only the finer points related to this networking, I just wanted to tell you that the time has come up. Maybe if you do not immediately intend to, at least start discussing with your friends, at least interact, deliberate about the pros and cons. Over a period of time, you might find these guidelines to be attractive, more suitable to you, and maybe it can take you to the next level of your practice. Even if you spare only 20 minutes, you can go to the guidelines. Guidelines are very simple, networking guidelines. Similarly, even if you spare only 10 minutes, you will understand all the intricacies of MDP. It's very simple to read it out. My today's purpose was just to tell you that these are the various options. Just create a bigger vision. Have a bigger vision, look at a bigger picture, create larger structure, focus more on strategy, and see to it that beyond the boundaries, as Arpit was talking about, you get the work across the globe. So with this, I once again thank the WRC. I cannot encroach upon the time of my co-speaker, CA MP Vijaykumar sir, who is a far better speaker with much more knowledge. I once again thank WRC for providing me this wonderful opportunity. Thanks to Yashwant, Kamlesh, and all Arpit and all my dear WRC friends. Thanks to all my viewers. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Jay sir. It was wonderful session, really. And in your session, you said we really spend 90% of our time in working in our practice, but we hardly work on our practice for getting work. So, my friends, I think it's time to work on our practice, to look back, to see where we are, where we want to go. Institute has given us the platform. So it's up to us how to use these guidelines and this platform for us. I request my council colleague, regional council, to please give a formal vote of thanks to CA Jaisal.
Yeah, thank you, Yashwant bhai, and this is really immense pleasure for me to giving hearty vote of thanks to none other than Jai Chhaira sir. Always like a elder brother for me, and I've seen working him from last many years. Thank you, Jai bhai, for all your inputs about this our code of ethics, and you did work hard with all these committees earlier with the ICAI, and we are really thankful to you for all your input and all the insights what you have given and shared with us. And we regularly look after your guidance and services, and please accept all our best wishes and thanks from all the participants, those who have attended this today's seminar. This is requesting all to give virtual round of applause to Jai sir. Thank you so much once again to Jai sir. And now we have to move ahead, and the second speaker, Mr. MP Vijaykumar sir, is here. The most, I would say, most talented and most knowledgeable person in the council, as good as Jai bhai. And I would like to introduce him, and this is really a pleasure for me to introducing MP Vijaykumar sir. And MP Vijaykumar sir is engaged with passion, pragmatic, envisioner, and a proven executor. Over 27 years of the experience in industry and as well as chartered accountant in practice. With ICAI, he is council member of the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India from 2016 to 2022. He is the chairman 19 to 21 Accounting Standard Board, 18-19 Valuation Standard Boards, 17-18 Digital Accounting and Assurance Board. He is the vice chairman, served as the vice chairman 2019-21 Expert Advisory Committee, 18-19 Financial Review Reporting Board, 17-18 Committee on Accounting Standard for Local Bodies. A nominee member for 2020-21 SAFA Committee on Accounting Standards, 1920 National Financial Reporting Authority, the ex officio, 2016-19 Quality Review Board, 2016-19 SEBI Committee on Disclosure and Accounting Standards. He is a member of the various committees of the ICAI, including Board of Studies and all. He is a resource person for professionals, accounting standard, IFRS, auditing standards, code of ethics, corporate law, governance, and capital market, etc. In Pan India, as a teacher, he has over 20 years of the teaching subject of accounting and financial reporting and corporate law. As well as for 2019 and 21, he is a member of IFRS Advisory Council. In 2020-23, he is a member of SMEIG. The work experience 2007 to till date, he is the Chief Financial Officer, CFO of the SIFI. In 1999 to 2007, he was partner with Yoganand and Ram LLP, chartered accountant firm. In 92-99, he was head investment banking and company secretary of Sundaram Finance. The present, he is director with XBRL India Limited, SIFI Singapore Private Limited, Tejo Engineering Limited, Sela India Software Services Private Limited, and former director of National Internet Exchange of India. I think this is a very small introduction for him. I know him very well. Sir, we are really thankful to you that you have joined us as a speaker for today. And WRC is really helpful, thankful to you and Jay sir as well. Please, sir, the dice is all yours. Please start with the deliberation. Sir, I think you must be on mute. We are not able to hear you properly.
Thank you, Kamlesh, for the kind words of introduction and the long introduction too. More importantly, sincere thanks to Jai Bhai for his kind words when he addressed the session. And it was pleasure listening to him once again. I heard him 3 weeks back, and good to listen to him once again. And the good part with Jai Bhai is he speaks his mind out of the heart. And unlike most of us, when we communicate with members or when we speak about specific provisions, we try to take the aid of a slide deck to ensure that we don't miss out any points. But when it comes to Jaibai, his intellectual capabilities, I think it's God's gift. I think it's just God's gift to him. I call him Saraswati Putra. So, and he inspires so many people with his continuous pursuit for knowledge and the kind of credentials he's built. But the best part I like about him is the humility. He stays grounded despite all the knowledge. Sometimes I don't know whether knowledge makes you humble or despite knowledge somebody is humble. I really don't know. But having seen so many people, I would rather say that despite all of the knowledge he has and his continuous pursuit for knowledge, he remains so humble and such a nice human being. So pleasure listening to him once again. Sincere thanks to Chairman of the region, Manish, and all the regional council colleagues for having invited me to be here this fine evening. I've been requested to speak on two topics. They appear quite independent, but they're actually related to. One is the guidance note on reports and certificates. And it's a very sensitive one. It's a sensitive one. Personally, I would allow to spend as much as 3 hours only on that guidance note for a very simple reason that across the country, every practicing member, small, large, established, everybody is issuing certificates of some form or the other to clients. So as far as the certification work goes, our experience is many are still not too familiar with this guidance note, and while they might generally still be meeting the requirements, there is definitely a scope for improvement in the quality of work around these certificates to be issued. And I would encourage the members who are attending here, post today evening interaction, I would request you to carry this message across that every certificate issued by a chartered accountant shall be only in accordance with this guidance note. In fact, many people tell certificates are issued for 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, 500 rupees and all. The moment somebody issues a certificate as per the guidance note, invariably a certificate will not be less than 5,000, and most cases will be minimum 5-digit figure, most cases. That's the kind of work which the guidance note actually expects when somebody has to issue a guidance note. I would like to believe many are still issuing certificates for a 4-digit fee. I know there are people who are issuing it for 3-digit fee, and this guidance note is a big insurance to the chartered accountant from any future professional liability, and equally important, will take him to a 5-digit fee. My only request to members is, instead of issuing 10 certificates for 1,000 rupees each, to begin with, do 2 certificates for 5,000. Let the remaining 8 be done by someone. You will still earn the same 10,000. And eventually get to 1 certificate for 10,000. The overall profession's gross value will go up. So just do it gradually. I know overnight it will not happen, but if you consistently put efforts, we'll get there. And this will happen the moment we start doing work as per the guidance note. So with this little opening remarks, greetings to all the members who are here. I trust all of you are safe and your near and dear ones in good health. A small caveat, whatever I speak over the next 15 minutes or so, all of which are my views as a professional. None of them should be seen as views of any of the boards or committees of the institute of which I am part of. I just want to bring to your attention that, and some of you might have heard me earlier on this, I'm a strong believer of these three golden rules. I'll just spend about 20 seconds on the third one. Whenever an opinion is expressed, that opinion can be an audit opinion on financial statements, or it can be in the form of certificates which are issued for various purposes. Every such opinion is a communication. And just like in personal life and professional life, each of us expect our family members, our colleagues in office to communicate to us only truth and completeness. The same is expected of whatever we are communicating through a report or a certificate, whatever way, whatever form, that is a communication. It's not just a blind piece of paper which you're signing, it's basically a communication. And it is to meet the three important C's, that it should be clear, it should be concise, and it should be candid. You should tell, you should speak out. So those are three very important principles of any certificate or report which you give. As I get to set the context, I'd like to draw upon a couple of observations of this great personality, founder of our institute, late Sri G.P. Kapadia, and a person whom I adore. And his words way back in 1950 are still relevant even today. Somebody makes an observation which is relevant after 70 years, must be a great visionary. He talks about every learned profession should have a sense of social purpose and social obligation, and this should be more so in the case of accounting profession. So every work we do, a certificate, opinion report we give, there is a societal impact on that. Somebody is lending money on that, and loans from banking system are public money. I will share with you a few disciplinary cases. I have taken out 4 disciplinary cases where certificates have been issued in a grossly negligent manner, and rightly they have been punished. While punishment happens, what is important is such actions of a few members reduce the overall respect of the profession, and that's what disturbs. You can punish that 0.05% of members, but it is that 0.05% who actually reduce the stature, the respect of the profession in the eyes of the public at large. The second thing the gentleman goes on to say is that the chartered accountant is a person on whom every member of the society could rely, and rely strongly. And his certificate would be by way of a seal and a hallmark which would inspire confidence in the minds of all concerned, as certificates by a person who is fully competent and holding a charter from the supreme legislature of the country. So 2 things I'll speak of now. One is this guidance note, and other is the independent requirements for assurance engagements. Assurance engagements are other than audit and review engagements. So for those engagements, we have a separate part in volume 1 of Code of Ethics, part 4B. I'll spend time on that. Now coming to this guidance note on certificates, a little bit of a backdrop. The original guidance note was issued way back in 1984 and it was revised in 2016. Almost after 32 years it was revised. Broadly, two reasons. One, the original guidance note was prepared when the auditing literature was still evolving. Audit literature was still evolving. The standards, those days, practice statements, etc., they were still evolving. Today, audit standards have matured significantly. And for all the members who are listening here, I'll make a 10-second departure. The International Accounting Standards Board, thanks to the initiative of our institute, I am sharing this because many times I come across people having other than a constructive observation about the functioning of the institute. At the behest of our institute, IWSB has finally issued the exposure draft of audit standards for small and less complex entities. So currently we have only one set of standards which applies whether it is for a company of the size of Reliance or a company who is having a turnover of 2 crores. So now IWSB has issued a separate set of audit standards, a simplified literature for audits of less complex entities. So institute will examine that along with our own draft. We have also prepared our own draft of standards and one of them we will take it forward. And also over time, several changes have happened. Expectations have risen, business have become complex, etc. One important point all should take note of is this guidance note is based on the corresponding international standard 3000. As all of you are aware, the 46 standards we have, audit standards we have, every audit standard is, for all practical purpose, a copy paste of the corresponding international standard on auditing. This guidance note is also based on the international standard on audit 3000. But there is one material departure because of the way the Indian regulators and all ask certificates, and hence we have a material departure because of which we are not able to issue it as a standard, and hence it is in the form of a guidance note. And that material departure is para 32A. Excluding para 32A, this guidance note is nothing but the corresponding international standard 3000 for all practical purposes. This guidance note seeks to ensure a balance between the requirements of assurance or certificates or reports from various regulatory agencies or the client requirements and the professional interest. So as a profession, when you issue it, you need to ensure that members are doing work in a guided manner so that they do a qualitative job. And if that guidance is missing, it's likely that members will falter, leading to disciplinary action. So in that context, it seeks to protect the professional interest. Applicability of the guidance note. This particular guidance note will not apply for non-assurance engagements which we popularly call as related services, agreed upon procedure engagements, compilation engagements, for which there are specific SRS, standards on related services, does not cover audit of historical financial information, for which again we have separate standards available in audit, your 200 series, 300 series, 400, 700 series, review of historical information, and audit of prospective financial information, for which again we have separate standards on those assurance engagements. So all of these are not covered by the guidance note, and this guidance note covers any type of assurance engagements not covered in this list. Now, this guidance note is essentially linked to this certificates, and when we talk of a certificate, the general impression which people get is it is equivalent I certify. When you say I certify, it's almost like giving a mother promise, and it gives an impression of an absolute assurance. But as all of you are aware, as far as audit standards are concerned, forget audit standards also. Absolute assurance is something which can never be given, because you have to give assurance on a set of information which has lots of professional judgments and estimates. So whether it is your financial statement or audit, in both of them, when somebody is preparing financial statement, there are estimates, there are judgments, and when I express an audit opinion, when I do an audit, there again there are sampling, there again test checks which are done, and what is possible is only an assurance which is lower than a mother promise. And consequently, only two types of assurance can be given. One is the reasonable assurance, which is the best possible one. Other is what we call limited assurance. So even in this guidance note, what you give is exactly the same. Either an absolute assurance that I have verified and nothing has come to my attention, and in a limited assurance, you give an assurance that nothing has come based on whatever I've seen so far. I give an assurance. And it's important to recognize, not just in this guidance note, but across audit standards, that an engagement risk can never be equal to zero. Given the fact that the financial statements and any information you compile, as I mentioned a little while ago, is based on estimates and judgments. The moment you tell estimate, you can have an estimate, I can have an estimate, another person can have an estimate. All of the estimates cannot be correct, or they cannot be exactly the same. So there is someone making an error, one of us making an error, which can be a marginal error or a gross error. So this guidance note also recognizes that the engagement risk can never be equal to zero for the various reasons which are listed down here. Some of them to highlight are the fact that financial reporting by itself has lots of estimates, judgments, concept of selective testing as part of our audit or assurance function, and that most occasions the evidence which you have is a persuasive evidence and not a conclusive evidence. It only gives you a persuasion, like for example, provisioning for bad debts, the communications with clients and the monies which are collected, the behavioral pattern. That's a persuasive evidence that the balance money will come for so much, but it is not a conclusive evidence. So as an auditor, most of the evidence I rely upon, I collect, is persuasive in nature, and it's not a conclusive evidence like cash in bank balance, cash in hand. That is probably conclusive, but most of the other evidence is persuasive in nature. The nature of procedures, audit procedures which we perform, and the amount of professional judgment which we exercise in both gathering and evaluation of evidence. So for these various reasons, the certificate which you give can never be an absolute assurance. It is only a reasonable assurance or a limited assurance. Now, what are the elements of the guidance note for certification engagements? There are 9 elements, and each of the 9 elements, interest of time, I may not be able to take you through in detail, but I will highlight some of the important elements. So these 9 elements are: first is preconditions for a certification engagement. So as far as the preconditions are concerned, when you are about to issue an opinion, the opinion can be on a financial information, it can be a non-financial information like stock count, physical assets verification, it can be anything. So you have to first see, among other things, the appropriateness of the underlying subject matter. Is it a subject matter on which I can give this particular certificate? Second, the suitability of criteria. I'll spend a minute when I come to the next slide. So when you're forming your opinion, you have to form an opinion against a certain set of criteria. There is a benchmark, and based on that benchmark, you can tell fulfilled, not fulfilled. For example, what do we do in an audit? In an audit, you are basically telling that financial statements have been prepared according to accounting standards notified under Companies Act, accounting standards issued by institute, whatever it is. So the entire audit there is benchmarked against financial statements prepared as per the accounting standards. So you are basically telling whether you are complying, not complying. So that is the benchmark, that is the criteria. So similarly, when it comes to these engagements also, you should check whether the criteria which you are selecting for you to form an opinion, are is it suitable? Second, is it a criteria which is generally available to the users of the report? So the criteria which you select, like for example, let's say a net worth definition. So that net worth definition, sometimes the person asking the certificate, he defines how net worth has to be calculated. Then you calculate according to that and give it to him. So criteria is known to him. So you say net worth as per so-and-so guidelines. So it's known to the intended users. Where it is not there, you have to see how do you select and make it available. So then you also need to understand the purpose of this engagement. Why is this particular report or certificate being asked from me? And the fact that the opinion needs to be given in a written form. So all of these are part of the section 1, total 9 sections. That's the first part. And as far as the criteria are concerned, we have the framework for assurance engagements, which is the mother document for all audit and assurance engagements. And in that mother document, which is the framework for assurance engagements, para 35 provides that whatever criteria against which you compare and give your view, that criteria has to fulfill these 5 characteristics. Relevance, it should be something relevant for that. It should be complete. It should be reliable, neutral, no bias, and understandable. So all these 5 criteria should be fulfilled whenever you do an assurance engagement. Second, scope limitation. If there is a scope limitation put by the party who is engaging you, right at the beginning, you should ascertain whether this scope limitation is material and pervasive, which will lead you to give a disclaimer of your opinion. So this should be done right at the beginning. So if you feel that it is going to lead to a disclaimer or conclusion, you have to check whether it is a legal requirement to give this kind of a conclusion or an opinion. If the answer is no, you should not accept the engagement. But if the answer is yes, that law requires you to give. Many cases we come across saying that statutory auditor has to certify this, has to give this and all. So if it's a legal requirement, you don't have a choice. Those cases, you have to go ahead and issue the opinion. Third is terms of engagement. So you need to have a formal engagement letter before you commence the engagement. And this engagement letter, among others, should cover objective and scope of the opinion to be given, certificate or report, whatever it is, responsibilities of the parties concerned, identification of criteria, relevant laws and regulations, and the subject matter on which you have to express. So subject matter is it certification of export proceeds. Subject matter is it on the physical verification. Subject matter is it on net worth, whatever it is. Unrestricted access to various records, and you should ensure that in the engagement letter you specifically have the sentence that you will not, the engagement will not be aimed at identification of errors, illegal acts or other irregularities. So tomorrow somebody should not raise a finger that you have been issuing these certificates. Why have you not been able to detect it? Your engagement letter should very clearly provide that my job does not involve identification of any of these. And what should be the form and content of the report to be given? This is the important one. The fourth section out of the 9 sections which are there. If there is no specified format which is given, whether it is by a regulator or a law or some bank or whoever it is, if there is no specified format, the auditor shall give the audit opinion, assurance opinion, only in the form prescribed in this guidance note. You cannot give any other format. So this guidance note tells, when you give a report saying that this is the net worth, this is the export proceeds, you have to give it only in the format which is prescribed in this guidance note. And recall, I told you at the start, this guidance note is the same as the international standard of auditing, ICAI 3000. Out of that standard, one important change has been done, which is this change, paragraph 32A. All of you are familiar that Today, the way certificates are asked, whether it is by TRI, DOT, or any regulatory authority, banks, or for your FEMA purposes, all of these certificates which are given, these certificates are in a particular wording, which wording does not meet the requirements of this guidance note. And hence, what this guidance note provides is every such report you should give only as per this guidance note, let it be rejected, and based on the rejection, which should form part of your working paper, that rejection should form part of your working paper, then you issue the certificate in the format which is being asked. But your initial report should be only with the format which is required in this particular guidance note. And if there is a past history of rejection, you can rely on that, keep it as part of the documentation and issue the certificate. Section 5 talks about qualitative aspects of engagement performance, professional skepticism, professional judgment, and applying various assurance techniques as always, that is including the evidence gathering mechanism, etc. Engagement circumstances, you should see when you are issuing these certificates, is there any knowledge which you are getting about a suspicion of intentional misstatement or non-compliance? You need to just keep your eyes and ears open. Does the organization have an internal audit function, and any findings out of that which can have a bearing on the certificate which you issue, and whether the responsible party concerned has prepared these subject matters, and evidence gathering similar to what we have in the audit standards. This is one point I would like to highlight. Let me spend the previous one. While you are building your report, your certificate, your report, what it says is materiality will form the process of doing this entire work, and misstatements, if any, which are uncorrected, you should keep quantifying it, and misstatements, if they are trivial, you can exclude it. And when it comes to misstatements, there's a very important criteria of materiality, and I would like to spend about 20 seconds on this. And what I share now is applicable for audit across. Forget the certificates, it's applicable across. And I would like you to keep disseminating this part to the users of financial statements at large. The audit framework, I reiterate, the audit framework, what is there in the slide is from the audit framework. What it says is that as a practicing chartered accountant, I can expect that the user of my work, whether I give an audit opinion or an assurance, which is a certificate, I can assume that the other person has a reasonable knowledge of the subject matter. The other person is in a position to understand. The other person is in a position to understand the inherent uncertainties which are involved in measuring or evaluating the subject matter. For example, if I am doing a pan-India verification of fixed assets and giving a report, the person receiving it should know that, he should know that it's just humanly impossible for somebody to actually verify 100% of all the assets and every small asset to have been captured. It expects, and the other person should make reasonable decisions based on the subject matter information which is given. And this is a beautiful paragraph in the framework, applicable across all engagements, and it's important that we should keep continuously highlighting to the users of our work, whether it is an audit report or whether it is a certificate, they should be made to be aware that These 4 elements are there. Section 7, work performed by practitioners expert. There are many occasions where when I give a report, I will engage an expert. I will engage an expert who will help me to arrive at the opinion to begin. For example, I may engage a valuer. I may engage an actuary who will give me some insights which I will use in the certificate which I give. So those cases, a very important responsibility on the practitioner is I should not hire people who do not have enough experience in that activity. That responsibility is with the practitioner. Just because he qualified as a registered valuer, just because he passed the examination of that actuary, does not necessarily mean that you can rely on that person's work. You should see whether that person has adequate experience and competence to give you that particular insight which you can rely upon. So just saying that I took a certificate from actuary will not work. The responsibility of ensuring that you selected an actuary who has competence, who has capability, enough time, etc. I can give, and is objective, is independent, that responsibility is with the practitioner. Similar is the case where you are relying on the work of another auditor or internal auditor. So if you are relying on the work of, let's say, an internal auditor, I want to give a physical verification report. So I do a physical verification. I also check the internal control process and how the internal audit is working for this, and I draw comfort in the way I did my testing, selecting the samples and testing. Now, I need to ensure that the internal auditor is independent, reporting directly to audit committee chairman. So I need to check all these things before I issue my report, opinion, conclusion, certificate. So that responsibility is there. Last section 9, assurance report. It should be in writing. It should contain a clear expression of opinion or the conclusion. And if there are multiple points on which you are required to give a report, for each of them, you have to give a separate view. Some of it may be unmodified, clean. Some of it maybe you have to give it as a modified opinion. And the assurance report should have all of these things. In fact, recall I told you, every certification job we do, we have to give all of these boxes which you are seeing here. And if somebody is signing a certificate for 500 rupees, the cost of typing all this will also not be recovered. So every assurance report requires you to have all of this: the title of the report, addressing concern, description of the level of assurance, reasonable or limited assurance, describe the subject matter information, description of the underlying subject matter, and also keep sharing the other aspects regarding what are all the criteria against which you are evaluating. You describe the significant inherent limitations of a report like this. And if criteria are specifically developed, like fixed asset verification or quantification or average age, then you keep adding that this is the criteria which has been developed. So give a cautionary statement that this is how the criteria have been developed. State the respective responsibilities of the party who is giving you the information and yourself, just like we do in the case of the like audit reports. Statement that you are complying with guidance note and that your firm has an SQC1 procedure of code of ethics, summary of work performed, how you went about it, and the opinion conclusion, including place, date, and the signature. So these are all the elements which are there. Unmodified opinion, either a reasonable assurance or a limited assurance. So reasonable assurance that I have not come across any material misstatements in the subject matter which I am giving assurance. And in a limited assurance to tell that nothing has come across to me which makes me doubt anything. So you give a limited assurance. An emphasis of matter and other matter paragraph can be added. So you can also like refer to note number 32 of the financial statements as well. You can draw attention to that, and other matter, if any, in terms of scope, limitation, etc. You can bring it as part of the opinion which you give. Modified opinion. What are the circumstances? I'll spend about 30-40 seconds on this. One is, if there is a scope limitation, not material, or if it is material but not pervasive, qualified opinion. Material but it is pervasive, then disclaimer. Subject matter could be materially misstated, qualified, pervasive, adverse. Effects of misstatements are material but not pervasive, qualified, and if it is pervasive, given adverse opinion. These guidelines are similar to what we have in SA 705. In the guidance note, para 85 gives you the wordings of modified reports. If you are giving a qualification or adverse opinion or a disclaimer, the wordings are there in para 85. The guidance note also has 4 illustrations of how a report should be given. If somebody is asking you for turnover certificate, please look at this slide carefully. Look at that illustration 1. I'm sure every practicing chartered accountant is issuing a minimum of 20 certificates a year, whether it's on turnover or net worth or net profit or working capital, whether it is for tendering or whatever. The format in which you have to give is available in illustration 1 of the guidance note. So similar kind of illustrative formats are available for other situations as well. So with this, let me now draw your attention to a few DC cases where people have been negligent in the work. Case number 1, and please note, majority of the DC cases come because of the certificates, majority of them, and they come because the government authority to whom your certificate has been issued or tendering, mostly public sector and government jobs. Those cases, it is discovered that certificate has been issued inappropriately, and the government department concerned, they refer to the institute. So other stakeholders might generally be a little chill, but the government agencies, they refer to the institute immediately. The moment they find the turnover certificate is wrong or the net worth certificate is wrong. And please note, most of the certificates you give for tendering, and tendering you have 3-4 competitors who are closely competing. Some competitor will tell to the organization that this certificate is wrong, and you might think you are innocently or nicely wording and giving, but there are smart businessmen and others, for reasons not to hurt you, but for reasons of winning their business. And in the process, we become a scapegoat, and the department concerned writes it to the institute. So this is one such example where the customs department, they had to get a certificate negative statement that there are no unpaid bills. So chartered accountant also issued this certificate. But later it came to the attention that there were some unpaid bills, and they responded saying that I did a sample check, their volume was there, etc., etc. He started saying all this, and he had no working papers to demonstrate the work which he had done. So the DC committee held him guilty of misconduct in that case. Similar case, Ministry of Food Processing, wrong certificate relating to net worth. Here net worth certificate was given, including share application money, and the share application in respect of agriculture land, which was not registered in the name of the company. and the fact that it was not registered, etc., was not highlighted. So ministry wrote to the institute ascertained these facts, and the decision was that the member was guilty of professional misconduct. So like this, there are 2 other case laws. Interest of time, I'll leave the copy of the slide deck to you, but the point I'm trying to highlight is institute DC cases are full of cases only relating to certificates, and it is not because client has gone and complained or another chartered accountant has gone and complained. All this happens largely in tenders and in the regulatory certificates which you give, where that government department, government organization, they are duty bound to inform the institute, and the institute invariably hunts these people, and most cases the people are punished. Now let me come and spend the last 10 minutes on this independence standards. These independence standards in the new code of ethics, which hit the road last year, July 2020. In the new code of ethics, volume 1, we have 2 sets of independent standards. One set of independent standards for audit and review engagements, which is called part 4A. Another set of independence requirements for other than audit and review engagements, what is called as assurance engagements. So in the code of ethics, there are 2 separate set of independence standards. One is 400 series, which is 4A, part 4A. Another is 900 series, which is part 4B. 4A and 4B, 400 series and 900 series, they look almost similar, which is true, almost similar, but there are some finer differences which are there. I will spend some time highlighting to that extent. Now, Code of Ethics, we have these 3 volumes, all of you are familiar. And in this Code of Ethics, this is how broadly you have the structure of Code of Ethics. And on independent standards, as I just told you, we have the 400 part 4A and then part 4B. So part 4B is what we are discussing now. And I think 4A was already discussed in one of the 4 days of your programs. Now, as far as part 4B is concerned, as I mentioned to you, it basically deals with other than audit or review engagements. Audit or review engagements is on financial statements, This 4B is relating to other than those, where both the persons involved in this engagement and the firm have to comply with the independence requirements. And for independence requirements, every client work you do, one working paper is a must, and the DNA should be built in the organization. Every work you do, even same client, when you take up the second work, same client when you take up the 7th work, same client if you're taking up the 30th work also, for each work which you take up, you have to have one page which should do this ethics conflict resolution. You have to find out for that particular engagement, is there any threat? Any of the 5 threats are they there? If these threats are there, you have to see whether you can apply some safeguards. Can you create some protection? If that protection is reducing your threats, accept the assignment. Not possible to reduce the threats, then decline the assignment. I have come across many people who hesitate to decline the assignment. My request is, when somebody is the age of 30, 35, you are hungry for work, and while you know that the best thing to do is declining, but we try to see if we can still accept it. While you may accept the assignment, important to see that a good 25 years of your professional career might get sabotaged, can get sabotaged. So profession is all about code of ethics, and never ever err on this code of ethics. So 5 threats, all of us are familiar. So the entire independence is tested against these 5 threats: a self-interest threat, a self-review threat, advocacy threat, familiarity threat, and intimidation threats. Now, examples of assurance engagements for which 4B of the standards will apply. Part 4B will apply. Examples are: somebody wants you to do an audit of inventory, audit of receivables, audit of only income statement. Somebody wants you to do an audit of your performance metrics, or somebody or you are required to give net worth certificates, turnover certificates, etc. All of these are examples of assurance engagements which are not an audit or review. Audit is for full-fledged financial statements. What you see here is 3 bullet points, examples. These are what we call as assurance engagements. Broadly, 2 types of assurance engagements: assertion-based assurance engagements, where the subject matter is given by the entity itself and you give an assertion. So client calls you to do a receivables valuation, or a direct reporting assurance engagement where you are issuing a certificate addressed to the customs department, addressed to some other department. So those are direct reporting assurance engagement. While the client might appoint you, but your reporting is to that particular department. So broadly, 2 types of engagement. Whichever be the engagement, independence of mind extremely important, and independence in appearance is equally important. And code of ethics and even audit standards spend a good amount of time on independence in appearance. One small request from my personal experience, and this is what my principal has taught me. Of course, those are different days, but these days it's pretty difficult. Independence in the way others see you is also very important. Like, for example, when I did my articleship, even stationery we would not be allowed to take it from the client place. We would not be allowed to enjoy any form of hospitality, including lunch at the client's place or going for lunch along with the client's staff, because the others who are observing will have an impression that there is a friendship with you. While you might conduct yourself independently, the people who are looking around may not get that same feeling. So similarly, as a signing partner, I would come meet, but I would never sit on dinner with the CFO or head of finance or the CEO. The moment my staff see that I am sitting on lunch with the CFO or the CEO, my staff will generally develop that subconscious feeling that my auditor and they are very close, and you would also start conducting yourself in that manner. You won't do it deliberately, but subconsciously the staff will start developing that. So audit standards has this requirement of not just independence of mind, but independence in appearance also, because your staff will pick clue from your conduct. The auditee will pick clue from the way you conduct yourself, and later the external environment who will also judge you will pick clue based on that particular aspect. So that's on independence in appearance. And period during which independence is required. Let's say I'm giving turnover certificate for the last 3 years and I will work in the next 2 weeks for that. So independence is required where last 3 years I should not have been involved. I should not have been an employee of the company at that time or a director of the company. So I was the director of the company, I've retired, now I've become a chartered accountant and they are my client. Non-audit client, non-audit client. Can I give a turnover certificate? Legally, yes. But I was the director of the company for the period for which I am issuing a turnover certificate. So that independence you have to maintain. Similarly, in these 15 days when I do the work also, independence is required. So there are 2 periods in which you should always test your independence. One is the period which is covered by the subject matter. Whatever the subject matter of the audit, that subject matter period, I should have been independent. And second is the period for which I am doing the work. And you need to document your independence. And if there is any threat of independence, what safeguards you have built and how you have addressed, reduced those threat, you need to document the same. If you subsequently discover that there is an independence which I have breached, when I took up the job, I was not aware, but later I came to know that there is this breach which is happening. Those cases, I need to do one of the 3 things. I should either eliminate that particular breach. Whatever has caused that breach, I should eliminate it. Second is, I should evaluate the significance of the breach and its impact and determine whether action can be taken to address the consequence of breach, including withdrawing from the engagement. So the code places this requirement where if you subsequently discover that there is a breach, why it happens subsequently is the following is, I am the engagement person and we are a team of 3 people. While I might know that I don't have any conflict, one of my team members who's a young chartered accountant who just qualified, does not know fully that there is some conflict happening, some conflict which is there. So those cases, if you come to know later, you have to take immediately one of these steps. One of the steps can be asking that staff member to step out and get the work reviewed by another person. So that can be there. And independence, threat and safeguard. In this 900 series, it's covered broadly under these 12 headings, 12 headings. Independence in respect of fees, gifts and hospitality, actual or threatened litigation. Like for example, there can be an instance of one of my staff members, there is a litigation which has come up with the company concerned for some other reason. So those cases you have to see whether that litigation will impact my independence. Financial interests, loans and guarantees which could be there between the client and the auditor. Business relationships, if any. Family and personal relationships. Recent relationships with an assurance client. And service as a director or officer. And lastly, applied for a job in that same company. So those cases, how do we deal with? All of these are dealt with in a detailed manner, including long association of personnel with assurance clients and provision of non-assurance services to assurance clients. And I'll keep this as the last slide. There are the 12 points which I mentioned. Detailed slides are there. Interest of time, I'm concluding that. But just to tell you between part 4A and 4B, the differences. One of the differences is in 4A, You have auditor rotation, partner rotation. In 4B, independence, there is no such rotation. But please note, in SEBI guidelines, if you are a valuer for a REIT or an investment trust, you can be there for only 4 years. So there are those kind of guidelines which are available. So similarly, deputing people to your client's place on short-term engagements for assurance services 4B, there are no such provisions. But for audit services, there are restrictions on loaning of personnel, rendering of personnel. Similar difference again with reference to fees. So client concentration, the total fee from an audit client for 2 consecutive years cannot exceed more than 15% of the total fees which you earn. Such kind of restrictions are not there as far as 4B is concerned. So these are all the individual provisions which I have dealt with. So let me conclude again quoting this great gentleman where he talks about when it comes to certificates, just think of certificates alone and this guidance note. Technical excellence in performance of functions and observance of highest in professional ethics constitutes the foundation on which the profession can be built. So thank you all for patient listening. Sincere thanks to Manish and the team of WRC for the invite. It's been pleasure interacting with all of you today. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay accountable.
Yeah, thank you, MP Vijaykumar sir. Now Manish Gade is also there, Chairman WRC, requesting him to say a few words if you wish to be.
No, I already spoken Kamlesh bhai. So
yes.
Mishra ji, questions हैं तो एक बार दिखाओ ना जरा. मिश्रा जी. हाँ सर दिखा रहा सर. And sir, really thank you Vijaykumar sir for accepting our invitation and taking session on this topic. When I approached Vijaykumar sir for taking code of ethics, so he was saying कि नहीं मेरा तो topic ही नहीं है. But the way you have handled the entire session, it's really great. So now questions are here. So sir, I read for you or you can read sir whatever.
These are 2 questions actually meant for Chhaira, who spoke on networking actually, networking. But nevertheless, I will attempt to address that. The first question, I think BNI is different from networking relationships and other kind of things. I think for a profession, it's very important that advertisement should be allowed in a restrictive manner. You cannot have it open one. There's a particular stature for the profession. So it's in that context that the restriction has been placed. And as per the new gazette, is an Australian CPA allowed to be a that is not allowed.
Oh, thank you, sir. Now I request C. Gautam Lat to please give formal vote of thanks to MP Vijaykumar sir and to today's session.
Thank you, sir. It was a very great session, sir, hearing, about all the precautions or everything we should take in day-to-day activities when we do certification and issue reports. I think all the participants are taking a lot of learning today home, and we should be able to justify the way you explained the, new guidance note and everything. We should be able to justify the 5-digit fees, and we should be able to charge 5-digit fees after this session. Thank you so much, sir, for your great knowledge and sharing all the practical examples and all your knowledge with us. I'm sure all the participants have learned a lot today. Thank you so much, sir, for taking time out for WIRC. I'm formally conclude this session and propose vote of thanks on behalf of WIRC of ICAI. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you all. Thanks, Manish, once again.